Welcome to Roundtable Mindset, the podcast where we seek to understand and share different perspectives in order to grow and challenge our own. And we encourage you, our guest, to do the same.
Each week we will pick a topic to discuss, sharing our own unique thoughts and insights. There will be times when we won't agree, and let's be real, that's probably going to be most of the time, and that's okay. We feel it's important to understand that we can live in this polarized world and still respect one another and even be friends.
Well, hello, and welcome back to Roundtable Mindset. This is Jamie.
And I'm Malin.
And we're back for an all-new episode of Roundtable Mindset, the podcast where we're going to explore new worlds and discover new things about ourselves and
change lives.
Share perspectives and insights.
All the wonderful things.
It's a new year. I have lofty goals, okay? I mean, it's the end of January. I'm still working on intentions.
I love it. I think we're going to be working on that for a while for both of us.
Well, it's good. It's good. Well, and we're into winter now, so winter.
I know.
Winter.
Don't remind me. I have snowstorms coming, and there's supposed to be like one right after another, and then the high is supposed to be like 16. I'm like, give me a break.
You know, I have to tell you, I am in the summertime. I run my air conditioner at 68 degrees. All summer long.
Sorry. How cold do you run it?
68. Like,
holy Aunt Jemima.
For a while, I had a lady, like a cleaning lady, that would come in and clean. And she used to, in July, she'd bring a sweatshirt because my house was so cold.
I mean, don't get me wrong. That's like great sleeping weather, right?
It's
like having
fantastic.
Just a little nip on the nose and you cover up in blankets and.
I cannot handle being hot. Like I can't handle in the summer. I can't handle being hot. Well, this winter, now that there's no children in the house to complain about being cold or whatever, I am running my heat at 65.
Oh my! So you live in an igloo. I just want you to know that.
Kind of. And they came to work on my roof today. And they were talking about, I heard them whispering in the hallway, like 65, it's really chilly in here. And I'm like, oh, crap. But it was so cold today that I couldn't layer up enough. I was working at home today. I couldn't layer up enough, so I turned it up to 67. So hopefully I don't boil overnight.
You rubble 2 degrees. How are you going to ever sleep tonight, Jamie?
16 outside. It feels colder or something. I don't know. It's but I turned it up, so we hopefully will. We'll be a little
survive.
More toasty.
So we run our house at a consistent 72 degrees year round. So summer, 72 degrees, winter, 72 degrees. We also, in the winter, run our fireplace quite a bit. So then we have that as a secondary heat, not to mention tons and tons of blankets that we all wrap up in if we get cold. So that's kind of our house. You would literally sweat to death if you came over here. I
might.
That's why when you stayed and you were in the basement, I was like, okay, well, it's a little cooler down there. But I didn't know you were like coming from the Arctic because I'm sure you were still hot downstairs.
I've always wanted a pet penguin, so I'm just prepping.
I guess.
Just kidding.
My brother, when we went over there, he runs his heat a little bit cooler during the winter too. I think he keeps his consistent though, so I think it's the same temperature year round. His is just a little bit cooler than mine. But I remember going over there and it was like, man, it's a little bit chilly. And he's like, yeah, I don't think it was 65 though. I want to say it was like 68 that he ran his heat on. So 65.
I used to be consistent 68, but I was really hoping to save money on my electric bill. So I tried the 65 and it has been saving me money on my electric bill. So that's okay. But yeah, we'll see. I turned it up because it was chilly.
The medical bills from the frostbite, though, I'm sure that's taken its toll.
Well, it's hard to type and be loaded up with 3 or 4 blankets. So I had to turn it up. I couldn't do it anymore.
So what I'm hearing you say is you have to go outside to get warmed up. So, okay, I hear you.
There have been days this fall that's exactly what's happened. Like I'll walk outside and be like, ooh, it's nice out here because my house is kind of chilly. But
now, does your significant other also enjoy it that cold or does he suffer?
I'm not sure. I think he used to work construction outside in the heat and stuff, right? So the heat and the cold didn't really bother him until we started living together, and 68 degrees is now his norm. So I think he's a little grumpy when it's cold outside too, but I don't know if he would admit that or agree with that. But
So he's acclimating to your world, I see. Okay.
I think so.
You're like, he doesn't have a choice, so that works.
Well, and so when does spring start? I don't even know. Is it March or April?
March 21st, I believe.
Perfect. So we are, we're only about 3 months out from, 2 months.
Almost 2 months.
Is winter only 2 months
No, it's
long?
3 months. But we've already gone through almost a month. Well, not really. We're 2 weeks into winter because it was the 21st of December was when winter started.
Oh, you mean, well, it's the end of January now in our time warp of podcasting.
Right. So you still have about 2 months.
This is my favorite part, my friend. This is my favorite part. So, food for thought. Other than the time warp that is the time travel that we do via our podcast here, what do you have for us for food for thought?
All right. So I have, I'm not going to lie, this is a personal one. I'm sure everybody can relate to some degree with this one. So it's going to be in a form of a question because I can't really come up with a good way to ask this any other way. So here we go, Jamie. Today's food for thought question is, if you were being manipulated by somebody, would you know? Would you be able to tell?
That's a really great question. And I think the answer is yes or no. Like, I think it depends on the situation, don't you? I mean, there are some people who are so obvious about their manipulation that I think it would be easy to tell. But I mean, part of the act of manipulating is that it would make it hard to tell.
It goes unnoticed. Right.
Right.
Well, and I would agree. I think from my experiences in life, if I go and I look back and I think of all the times that I've been manipulated, and sometimes you can see through it, right? Because the person who's trying to manipulate you isn't very good at it. There's other times when maybe I have been manipulated and the other person was so good, I didn't even notice. And even to this day, I wouldn't recognize the fact that I was being manipulated. I went through a part of my life where I pretty much assumed most people were trying to manipulate me, which was not a very healthy, period of time, to be honest. Because when you do notice, at least for me, when I did see somebody trying to manipulate me, it made me mad. And then it made me start doubting everybody else. So it's almost like everybody else was paying for the sins of another, right? And so when I was younger, this was when I first had this experience, which I'm not going to say any names, but I was a young kid, and I had this friend. I had two friends, and the three of us always kind of went, everywhere together, played together, went over to each other's house. Well, as I grew up, one of them got into a fight with me, and so in order to get back at me, the third friend, I know this is getting confusing, so I'll call him friend A and friend B. So friend B and I got into an argument, and friend B and I kind of drifted apart a little bit. Well, friend A and I were still together, like hanging out, and I found out that friend A was trying to get information, like private information from me, embarrassing information from me, so he could share it back with friend B, because A and B were getting closer and closer, and I wasn't aware of it. So once I understood what was happening, it really made me mad because I was being manipulated. I was being manipulated into telling things about myself that I probably wouldn't tell other people. And the worst part is that he was using his friendship as a way to manipulate me. So my defenses were down. Well, first of all, as a young kid, I didn't have very many defenses, right? Because kids, I think, just are born to believe what people say and trust in the best part of humanity, and until the world kind of shakes that out of them, that's how they see it. So, and that's how I saw it. And I remember when the realization kind of washed over me, and I remember thinking to myself, he's not really my friend then. He's just trying. He's more of a friend with the other guy than he is with me, because he's trying to hurt me by giving embarrassing information over to the person that we are no longer friends. And it ended both of our friendships. I mean, that's kind of the severity of it all. Mm-hmm. But that was the first time that I've experienced that I was aware that I experienced manipulation, and it angered me. It made me so mad.
So I'm curious, how old were you when that happened?
So this took place in second grade. So it was the year right before, well, it was the winter right before third grade. So like January, February of that year, because in that August I would have been in third grade. So it was the later part of second grade. So.
Wow. Because that feels like, I mean, that even feels like upper level thinking for second graders. You know what I mean? Like that's pretty diabolical for an 8-year-old.
Yeah, I'm articulating it as a 45-year-old man, but as an 8-year-old.
That's true.
I mean, so it probably sounds a lot more cloak and dagger than it really was. I'm trying to give like the highlights, and it might have been something stupid like, I don't know, like, have you ever spilt? I can't even come up with it. Like, I can't even come up with what is some of the stuff like. Well, actually, I can. So one of the embarrassing stories. So my parents had me do my laundry when I was a very young age. I'm doing a little segue here.
Mm-hmm.
And I not always, most of the time I forgot to put my pants from the washer into the dryer. Well, my parents, we had to go. So I had to go to school sometimes with wet jeans because I didn't have the time to pull them out of the washer into the dryer. Well, there was times when I would go outside and it'd be cold enough and my pants would steam and so it was something like that one time as I shared.
I kind of remember this. Actually, I remember this.
Yeah. So once the kids found out, I was called Hot Pants for a while. That was fun. But it was something stupid like that. Like, it wasn't life shattering. Like, I don't mind people knowing about that now because it really doesn't matter. But to a second grader, it matters a lot. I mean, that was embarrassing. That was something that I didn't want there to be a lot of focus on it. And here I'm finding this friend who I thought was my friend was exploiting that friendship in order to help the other kid out, which means he liked him better than he liked me, right? Like, that's all the things going in my mind. So that's kind of where the angle I'm looking at too, is that was a moment where I understood and I realized and I saw somebody was manipulating me. And if I look back across my life, there's other moments as I've aged that's not the same situation, but the same kind of outcome has happened. But it makes me wonder, are there times when I was manipulated and I didn't know it and I didn't recognize it? And
yes.
Do you think so?
I do. I think the answer has to be yes. But I also think that there's times that people are manipulative and may not recognize that either.
Okay, now you lost me, but go on with your thought because I want to circle back around to that.
Well, I know that, like, for instance, I can easily talk about for years, my kids are like, that's a guilt trip. You're trying to guilt me into doing whatever, right? And my intention was never guilt. But then, like, at some point, moving along the parenthood spectrum and along the growth journey that I was on, it was like, oh, no, I can see how that was manipulative. That was guilt tripping in order to get the outcome that I wanted. At the time, I didn't recognize that even in myself. But I can look back and see how that was exactly what it was. Where that came from, I mean, we could probably do a deep dive into Jamie's psyche and talk about, where I learned that and, how that happened. But, the truth of the matter is that when I was aware of it enough that I could say, well, wait a second. Yeah, that is a manipulation. That is a form of trying to get my desired outcome by playing on emotion or whatever. But I didn't see it that way at the time. Like, I didn't view it that way. It wasn't my intention, I guess, was not to be manipulative, but it was.
Yeah. And I have an example where I was kind of thinking through this past relationships where, when you're in a relationship with someone, boyfriend, girlfriend, I'll say, fiance, maybe even husband and wife. I don't know. There's times when manipulation's there to, make the other person do what you want to do. And it's really hard when you're an outsider looking into somebody who's being manipulated and you can see it and they can't. And that's also kind of bothered me is, they always say, what's the old saying is love is blind, right? So,
oh yeah.
So
yeah.
that reminds me, like, or makes me wonder, do people choose to be blinded by love? I mean, do they honestly see the manipulation that's going on, but they just turn a blind eye because they want so badly to be in a relationship with the person who's doing it, and they want that person to be a better person so much so that they're willing to ignore what's actually happening to them?
I don't know that there's that much thought put into it. I think there are sometimes, eventually, if you see the red flags, you recognize the red flags and you dismiss the red flags, and yes, you're making an absolute choice, right? But I think so many times, even someone could come to you and be like, this person is a master manipulator. But if you have positive interactions with them, if you have some sort of a friendship or relationship with them, your thought would be, no, they're not. They're a really great guy. We hang out on Tuesdays. You know what I mean? So I think it depends on your experiences, but I also think that, I don't think that diminishes the relationship either. If you don't have any negative experiences and that person truly is manipulative, I think that manipulation level has to be, it's the intent. If someone is intending to manipulate you, that is like a big danger zone for me. But part of change is having someone bring that to your awareness to say, hey, this was really manipulative and it was uncomfortable for me. Can we talk about it? Right?
Yeah. So where I'm stuck, and I'm curious if you have an example of this. Do you have an example of somebody maybe that's what you just gave about your kids were telling you were guilt tripping them and you weren't. But I have to believe even in that scenario, there was a desired outcome. You might not have meant to manipulate them, but you were trying to get an outcome out of them. So I can see that example in a roundabout way where you might not have intended it to be manipulative, but I could see how it could be. But what I'm hearing you say is people can accidentally be manipulative, and I would never have thought of that. And I don't think I agree with that. But at the same time, it's like, do you have an example of that? Like, have you witnessed that firsthand where somebody was accidentally manipulative to somebody else?
Well, I think that we all have things. We all have our vices, right? We all have our pitfalls. And until we become aware of it, and I do, again, I think it's that intent behind it. Even if I was guilt tripping my children into doing something, I wasn't guilt tripping them into doing something that was going to harm them, right? Like it was always like, for instance, honey, it's so cold outside. You need to put on a coat. Mom, it's fine. I don't need a coat. Do you want me to worry about you? Would you please just put on a coat, right? So it's not like hurting them to not, to the desired outcome that I had was not to hurt them. It was to keep them safe. And I think that's the mask that we often can look at things to say, well, I wasn't manipulating them to hurt them. That's not manipulation. I was trying to protect them. And so we have these ways of masking ourselves, I think, from what's actually happening to, I guess, to protect ourselves probably. And I think we all have those kind of things. Well, I don't know. Does that answer the question? I feel like that I might have gone a different direction.
You actually did answer it, because another thing that I wasn't thinking through, because again, you hear manipulation, you go negative, right? Like even me, I'm like, stop manipulating me. Well, we do manipulation. Parenting's probably the clearest version that probably you and I both can relate to, where you use manipulation sometimes to keep kids safe, to keep them from doing things that will hurt them so manipulation is, kind of a broad statement. And maybe if we had some more time, we could go back through and dissect into more of the negative side of it. But that was just really my food for thought for today, is I was just like thinking to myself, would I have known every single time in my life that I was manipulated? And I want to say yes so badly. And I want to fight against you to say, no, I would have known. And there's been a handful of times for sure, but there's more times than not I could see right through the person. But the older and hopefully the wiser I get, I have to be honest with myself and say there's probably a lot more times that I was manipulated, and I just don't even recognize it as manipulation. So that's frustrating to me.
I often wonder too, even company policies, are those there to manipulate? Are there things that are in there? If you think about the word manipulation, it's probably not when we're talking about it in this context, it's different than the word actually means, because I think the word manipulate means to mold or move in a different direction, right? I don't know for sure, but when I think about manipulating puzzle pieces or manipulating, you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, and I think there's different degrees of manipulation, right? So, and I just went to the dictionary and I love this because when they use the Webster's version of defining a word and they use the word in itself to define what the word is, that's what Google just did for me. It's the action of manipulating something in a skillful manner. So you can, I think, go a dark way with this and you could go a positive light. And I think we've touched on both sides. But you're right. Like you can go a lot of different places. A chiropractor, and they manipulate your body and they help relieve pain, and you know it's a benefit. And then you can go and visit a narcissist, and they're a master manipulator, and all they want to do is control and make you less than them, and that's not positive. So, so that is interesting. I think that's a good point to kind of think through. But I still going to side on. I don't think I was manipulated as much as I probably have been. I have to say that to myself so I can go to sleep tonight.
Well, or, know that you're in good company. Because I'm pretty sure we've all been manipulated and didn't realize it. I mean, if you think about a car salesman at a car lot who gets commission for every car they sell, over 15 for the month or something, that's a form of manipulation. I'm going to motivate you. I'm going to move the needle to get you to perform more, right? I mean, you think about things like that. I think we've all been manipulated at one time or another.
Well, not that I'm expecting to answer this, but I'm going to leave this hanging there as we maybe transition to our main topic now. But I think when I hear manipulation, again, I always go negative. So I think, oh yeah, people can manipulate you by lying to you. But what if they can manipulate you by using the truth? So maybe it sounds right. It feels right. That's something that hits my ear well. I wouldn't recognize that as manipulation. But maybe they're using the truth to also manipulate you to do something and make you go a different way than you'd want to go. I think that would be really hard for me to detect at that point because it would have the ring of truth around it. So interesting.
We could go so many directions with that, but let's move into our regular topic. That could be like a whole episode.
Let's put pause on that and we'll come back to it later.
It's great. So our regular topic today kind of fits in, and actually I think was sparked because of our episode topic today.
Probably. That's probably true.
So Malin and I wanted to visit a little bit about emotional intelligence. And so as we were talking about this topic and trying to figure out, like, how do we want to approach this? What do we want to talk about? What research do we need to do? I Googled emotional intelligence test, and we took an emotional intelligence test. So that's kind of how we're going to start today is this EQ emotional intelligence test. This test is brought to us by Truity, and has been featured on Entrepreneur Magazine, the HuffPost, Chicago Tribune, Today, the Today Show, New York Post, CNBC, LinkedIn News, The List, Bloomberg, Technology, and Real Simple. So all of those big media outlets have endorsed. I don't know if they've endorsed it, but it's been featured there. So,
and I just want to, before I forget, we are also going to have a link to the same test that we took because it's for free. We'll put it in our show notes. So those of you that are interested and kind of want to know where you land within the emotional spectrum, you can take this test as well. So just want to put that out there, Jamie.
Go find out your EQ superpower because you can do that at truity.com. So, now Malin and I took these tests independently. We have not shared the results with one another.
It's happening live, people.
I will admit to being guilty of thinking, I wonder how Malin will come out on this, and thinking I might know how Malin will come out on this. But
how dare you, Jamie? I'm here waiting to just listen to you with no judgment in my heart. And you are casting so many stones right now.
Sure. I believe it was your idea to be like, I'm doing a predictor here today.
Oh no, I totally did that. So when we were getting ready to kind of come on, I told Jamie, I said, I kind of want to guess where you're at because, we've been friends for so long, but I just want to see how close I am because here I am saying that I think I'm pretty good at emotional, my emotional intelligence. I should be able to see some of these things. kind of put it to the test a little bit today. So I thought that'd be kind of fun for us to kind of guess where the other one is, and then we could reveal our actual results.
Well, so here's how I think we should start. I think we should reveal our EQ superpower. That's kind of what they call your category, I think. And then we can kind of go into, they broke this test up into 5 different areas. So there was self-awareness, awareness of others, emotional control, empathy, and well-being. So there was, I don't know, what was it, like 50 questions?
Yeah,
maybe.
It was really quick though, the way they answered. But yeah, I would say there's probably around 50.
And it's on like a scale of not accurate to accurate. So you had five different ways to answer. And it was a quick one. I hate these kind of tests though, I'll be super honest. Because so many words in this test were like, I always, or I frequently, or
I never,
I completely, or I never. Yeah, exactly. It drove me a little crazy because there's nothing that I always or never do, right? So I probably answered in the middle a lot more than I might have if the questions were worded differently. And I don't know that they take that into account because I'm hyper aware of things like that.
I'm sure they do though, because I remember when I first started working at Walmart, they did a test similar to this where you had to answer them to the best of your ability. And they put things in there like, there was one question about shoplifting, and it's like it's something like when I shoplift, I only take things that I can fit in my pocket. Well, I answered no to that. Well, by answering no, it implies that I shoplift more than small things that I can fit into my pocket. And I'm like, no, it should imply that I don't shoplift at all. But that's not part of the scale. And so when they put these I always, I never, those absolutes in there, to me, those are the qualifying statements that's keeping you within the middle ground, because if you hit any one of those, they're going to look at it because it's a trigger. At least that's how I took it. So when I saw these questions, I'm like, okay, these are the absolutes. So like if I answered, and there's a couple of them that I did go all the way over to that is completely accurate to that is not accurate at all. And I think when we do that, that's where it starts honing in on us, because the middle ground, it's kind of one where, it waffles, right? Like, okay. Mm-hmm. But I don't think that's true on all of the questions, just on those key ones. At least that's how I looked at it.
Yeah, I'm either way more balanced than I expected to be, or than I thought I was, or I just answered in the middle too often because of my ick factor of, absolutes. But
I love the little disclaimer that I gave you before you took the test that was like, hey, and I'm paraphrasing now, but it was like, hey, don't answer as the person you want to be, answer as the person you are taking this test. I was like, okay.
Yep, me too. Okay. So, Malin, what is your EQ superpower?
Okay, so do you want me to give the type and then the superpower, or just the superpower?
Yes, the type, your emotional intelligent type, and then your superpower.
Okay, so I took this test, which I found to be incredibly accurate for me, which was a little spooky, which is why I love taking these types of tests. I've taken the color test, a personality test, and they seem to always, and I think that's the purpose of them, is I could always find the majority of what I think my personality is or my EQ kind of falls in line. So I just love that it's like a validation for a second. You're like, yeah, okay, I thought so. And that's what's coming back. But to your question, so my emotional intelligence type is the rock. And my superpower is being the master of my own emotions. And then it gives a little bit of a blurb down below, and it says, I'm great at making myself feel how I want to feel, powering through challenges, and keeping a cool head in tough times. So that is my type and my superpower. What's yours?
That is pretty accurate. I like that. My emotional intelligence type is the poet, which I was like, riddle me this. But my EQ superpower is having a rich emotional inner world. I'm great at deeply exploring my feelings and ideas, understanding complex experiences, and describing my emotions vividly.
The poet, I like that. I never mind, I was going to say something else.
I'm glad you did, because I'm like, oh.
You didn't like that? I think that's kind of cool. I can see part of that from you though. Like I can see how you use language a lot. You like words. I mean,
I do.
Words are a big deal for you. Yeah, words are important for you. So I totally see some aspects of that in your, at least in your personality. We'll still have to see your emotional intelligence, but
well, there's the 5 areas of emotional intelligence. So, the first one was self-awareness, right? And there were a ton of questions on there about that. And that those were a lot of those absolutes that drove me a little crazy. But this says self-awareness. Oh, go ahead.
No, you go. You're going to explain what self-awareness is, because before you give your number, I want to guess what it is.
Oh, gotcha. Yep, I'm going to explain it a little bit. Self-awareness is measured by the ability to effectively recognize and identify one's own emotional experiences. So people who score higher in this area are more likely to be highly attuned to their emotions, exhibiting a keen sense of what they're feeling at any given moment. And they're also more likely to be reflective, frequently pondering the reasons behind their emotional reactions. People who score lower in this area, in contrast, may be more likely to get caught up in the heat of the moment, potentially leading to impulsive or reactive social behaviors. So,
I don't know why you're looking at me when you said that, but that's fine. I'm just kidding.
Oh, no. Well, because you're the only other one here. What do you...
And I think self-awareness for you, if I had to gauge, and it's out of 100, each of these areas are out of 100. I'm going to say you scored probably in the high 70s. That's where I'd think your results would be. Okay.
If I had to score, like if I had to guess your scores, I would say 50 to 55.
Okay. What's yours? You reveal yours first.
77.
Thank you very much. I'm here all week. Mine, are you ready for it?
Yeah.
52.
Are you kidding me?
Nope.
That's awesome. I didn't want to be offensive. I can't believe I nailed it.
I think when we're asking each other to rate, we can't be offended, right? Like even if you would have said, I think it's a 1, unless you're just being difficult, like we have to just accept that. All right. So that's pretty good. We both kind of picked the self-awareness for each other. That's kind of cool.
Yes. 77 and 52. Cool. Okay. So you can do others awareness, like awareness of others.
Okay. And I'm not going to lie. When I did this one, I was like, other awareness. I was like, what? So I had to read through this and kind of understand. So other awareness is measured as the ability to effectively perceive and understand the emotions of others. People who score higher on this construct are... Let me start that sentence over. People who score higher on this construct are more likely to be highly attuned to nonverbal cues such as body language and facial expressions, which can provide valuable information about others' emotional states. They are also more likely to be skilled at interpreting those cues and making accurate inferences about the emotions that other people are experiencing, even when those emotions are not explicitly expressed. For those of us that do not score very high in this area, we may struggle to accurately interpret nonverbal cues, potentially leading to misunderstandings or missed opportunities for social connection.
Yes, awareness of others, other awareness. So, if I had to guess this is a hard one for me to guess for you. Because I do think that you're pretty attuned into watching, like you pay attention to those things, probably from early scars of second grade manipulations and things like that.
I've been on high alert my whole life.
But at the same time, I feel like there's a need to want to be aware of others. And I don't know. Sometimes I feel like you're like, they can do them. It's fine. I take care of me. You take care of you. Right. So if I had to guess, I would say north or south of 60 by 3 or 4.
Okay. I'm going to do some relational analysis here. And I'm going to say if you were 77 on your first one, I think you're going to be more attuned to other people. So I'm going to say you're going to be north of that. I'm going to put you between 85 and 90.
All right. So... I picked first. You go first.
Okay, I'm going to go first. So my score, You said plus or minus from 60 by 3 or 4?
Yes.
I ranked 64 on that one.
Wow.
So you were spot on.
Very cool.
So my results, in case everyone's kind of paying attention, I am more aware of others' emotional state than I am my own. That's saying something, right?
Well, I don't know if it's others' emotional state as much as it's like nonverbal cues and things like that. But
okay, let's go that route. I like that route better. That doesn't make me feel like less of a person.
This one for me, you said like 80.
I said 85 to 90.
66.
What?
66. I was kind of surprised by that one too.
I am shocked.
But I think this is one, and this is the one I was specifically thinking about when I was thinking about how I picked the middle so often, because I don't want to assume that I know how other people are feeling, and I actively work not to assume. I actively work to ask and get in it with them rather than just be like, their face and emotional response is telling me that they're feeling bad today. You know, I don't assume, I go ask. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like that might have been one area where me consciously being like, no, I don't assume things. But I probably really do assume things before I ask. I just,
there's
I don't act on it or something.
Well, and I think that's a good key indicator right there. Like I kind of, before this test, I would have said, oh, if I would have looked at this and read it and then said before, we would have talked before I've taken it, I would have said, okay, others' awareness, I am really good at picking up those subtle cues, the nonverbals. Like I think I've said that even on here a couple different times. Like I'm pretty good at it. I would have ranked myself higher than 64. I saw that and I was like, 64? That seems, just barely above average. If, 100's the best, 0's the worst, 50 is the middle. I'm not much, I'm a little bit, but not where I thought I would be. But I think it's a matter of maybe it's, you still notice those and you notice them enough that you can utilize that ability, but maybe you're just not so off the charts. Because to your point, I don't know what 100 would look like in that realm, right? Like if I scored 100, what would that look like in my everyday life? I'm no longer talking to people and I'm just assuming I know everything they're feeling. And so there's no need for me to even go and have a conversation because I'm so attuned. Like that seems really dangerous too.
Well, maybe the difference is, hey, is everything okay today? Or, oh my God, I can see by your face that your mom died today. You know what I'm saying? Like just assuming that oh, I can tell that something really bad has happened, so I'm just going to name it. You know what I mean? Maybe that's the difference between.
So how you apply?
Well, and maybe it's boundaries. Maybe that's it. Maybe I have very healthy boundaries. Malin, we have very healthy boundaries. 64 to 66, we are in the same space with that.
It's hard to argue that because we're at basically the same number. So moving on.
I'm going to claim it's healthy boundaries. So anyway, okay. So the next one is emotional control. I'm so excited for this one because I think I know how this one's going to go. Emotional control is measured by the ability to regulate and manage one's own emotions. So those people that are going to score higher in this area are more likely to have a strong sense of control over their emotional experiences and can direct their emotions in a way that serves their goals and well-being. They're also more likely to be resilient and able to quickly recover from negative emotions or bad moods without getting derailed from their daily lives. In contrast, on the other side of that coin, people who score lower in this area struggle with regulating their emotions, becoming overwhelmed by their emotions, and or find it challenging to get back on track after experiencing negative emotions. They may also find it difficult to cheer themselves up or regulate their emotions in a positive direction too. So
I do want to say before we continue though, I do feel like this definition was absolute, right? It's like either you have complete control over your emotional state or you are overwhelmed by your own emotions. Like, I feel like there should have been a little bit more in the middle around this because that feels like such a heavy swing. And I don't know why I feel that because I've read the other ones, But this definition for emotional control felt like it was the heaviest that swung from one absolute to the other in that definition. I don't know if you felt that same way.
This gave us the 1 to 100, right? So where we're trying to interpret what other awareness might be at 100, this just told us 1 is you're absolutely an emotional wreck at all times, and 100 is you strong arm it and bootstrap it and move forward, right?
You just swallow everything and move on and don't even care about your emotional state is what I'm hearing. Okay, perfect.
Right. Okay, so if I had to pick one for you, I think this would be my initial guess is that this is one of your higher areas, if not your highest. And I would say that you are 75 or higher in this area.
You gave yourself quite a bit of room there. 75 or higher. That's 25%.
I can say 75 to 82. Is that better?
I like that.
Okay.
And I would say the opposite for you. Again, not negative or anything, but I would say I would probably think this would be not your lowest, but I don't think you would score the highest on this. So I'm going to put you right around the 50 mark on this one.
Okay.
Again, plus or minus 5, but I'm going to say right around 50.
Okay. So where did you land, my friend? 75 or higher?
Yes. So you are accurate that this is my absolute highest rating that I've had in this entire score.
Okay.
And I don't know if I'm proud to say or not, but I have a whopping 94 out of 100 on this.
Oh my gosh.
For those of you that did not see Jamie's face, she has no poker face on this one. Like it is
94
all over her.
Wow.
Yeah. I was like, is that even possible?
Well, apparently it is.
Which is probably why I'm so sensitive around how they worded that stupid, because I mean, it's as near to perfect as I probably ever, like, and I say perfect, to 100 as I probably would ever get on any of these. And it's on emotional control.
Is there such thing as too controlled? I'm starting to wonder. Okay. So
I don't let tears out of my eyes. I will it.
You will be surprised to know, maybe, that this is not my lowest number.
What?
It's not. Nope. And what did you say? 50?
I said 50 plus or minus 5. So 45 to 55 is my range.
How about plus or minus 19?
Ooh. So you were in
69.
That's not bad.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm feeling like a very balanced individual.
I'm just going to say, I don't think you've answered those questions correctly. I'm just kidding.
Jamie, were we really being honest? Way to be judgy, McJudger.
No. I just know I'm just reading you. I have that ability. So no, I can pick it apart.
No, here's the deal. And this is the one when you were like, I think I know which area was rough. This is the one I instantly knew you were going to be like, that's where Jamie's Achilles heel is, right? But I will stand by. I think that you probably think that because you get 30, you get almost as many years with me as my brother gets. And if anyone is going to see me emotional, it's going to be you and my brother, right? Like, because you're the safest people to be emotional or unhinged with.
Well, and I think that color needs to be put all over this. Like, this is a point in time. It was in a controlled environment. Yes, we were trying to be honest. But just like we said in other things, when we get stressed, I'm sure these go off the charts, right? I think these adjust. So if I'm in a really high stressed environment, I might go off the charts on emotional control and also other awareness, and I might go down on all the other ones. So I think it's important to understand, like, this is like a controlled base that we're taking this, but in emotional settings or settings that are, high stress, I'm sure these kind of just fluctuate and adapt for the period that you are in. I know when I took a personality test, they kind of said that. They said if you were in a high stress job right now and we gave you this test, you would be shocked at the results because it would be different than what we have today, because people change according to their environments and they adapt to where they need to be in order to, be able to go on or be able to perform. So I do think there's a little bit of that we should at least acknowledge, Jamie, because I'm sure we both aren't like this all the time, every day, under all circumstances.
I will tell you, I took this, I don't remember, two or 3 weeks ago when I took it before I sent it to you because I wanted to see if it was good or not, if it was worth it. And it was the same. I mean, I don't know if those numbers were the same, but it was the same type.
There was nothing like jaw-dropping the second time you took it.
Right. So I didn't keep the numbers or anything because I wanted to be true to our podcast and do it at the same time. So,
all right,
so, yes.
I'm gonna move us off of the emotional control, which shocked me. I'm shocked by yours numbers, like absolutely. I thought they would be a lot lower. So on to the next one, where I'm gonna go ahead and call it. This is gonna be your highest ranking one, I think. I'm just, before I even read it, no, I'm not going to be that cocky. I'm going to go ahead and read it, but I have a number in mind already. Okay. So here's empathy. Empathy is measured as the ability to understand and relate to the emotional experiences of others. People who score higher on this construct are likely to be highly attuned to the emotions of others. They specifically tend to be affected by others' suffering and motivated to help alleviate it. They are also more likely to care deeply for the well-being of others and may frequently engage in pro-social behaviors such as donating to charity or volunteering their time to help others. In contrast, those who score lower on this construct may have more difficulty understanding and sharing the emotions of others and may be less inclined to engage in pro-social behaviors. Those with lower empathy may also be more likely to automatically attribute others' suffering to their own bad choices or circumstances rather than recognizing the role of systematic injustice or societal factors. I'm going to say 80 to 90 is where I put you. That was my number for you on this one.
Okay. I am going to guess, I was guessing this would be your lowest number. And I'm struggling to pick a number. Empathy is important, and you know that about me, so I don't want you to be like, wow, Jamie thinks I'm a jerk. But I'm gonna put this right at 50, plus or minus 5 at 50.
Wow, Jamie. That hurts.
Sorry.
This was my second highest at 88.
Really?
No, I'm kidding. I'm totally lying to you. No. I wish I could shock you because you've been dead on with me the entire time. It is my lowest one. It is significantly lower than any 50? Of my other ones. Not lower than 50, or not. It's lower than 50, but it's significantly lower than my other ones. So I ranked on empathy, if you can believe. I have to giggle. I ranked 36 out of 100.
Oh,
on empathy. Now, wow. I will say, and I don't think this helps my cause, but I'm just going to say this. I think there's an element of, because some of the questions were like, some of what they put in here is like, do you donate? Do you see social injustice? Like, do you help at the soup kitchen? Like, do you do all these things? Many factors fall into that category of why I answered the way that I did. I won't bore everybody with them. But I will say that I think there's a difference between being able to empathize with somebody and being able to show empathy. And I think that I can realize and I can show people empathy. Now I'm just trying to dig myself out of this hole. I think where I have a problem is I don't do the actions of showing other people empathy. Like, I can recognize it, but then what do I do with it? That's a different conversation.
Well, and I was doing 50 because I've seen that shift in you over the last few years. Like, I've heard you say, no, I want to do something. I want to do something to help others. And I want to, you know what I mean? So I'm
Could you imagine how low it was before then?
I don't want to talk about that.
It was like 4. I started out at 4. So, that's a big growth.
That's a big growth. Big growth.
All right. Okay. So I I knew that was going to be my worst one.
What was your guess for my number again?
I said 80 to 90.
Okay.
That's what I guessed
80
yours.
to 90. So this was my lowest number.
Shut up. You're lying.
I'm not even joking.
Empathy was your lowest number?
Yes. 64 on the empathy scale of 0 to 100.
Oh, okay.
I don't even know how to respond to that, because I literally, especially after all the conversations that we've had recently about empathy, I'm like, I'll be off the charts. But
how mad would you have been if my number was higher than yours? Like, I could just see that. I wish so badly that it would have been. Could you imagine?
I think part of this number for me, again, was those absolutes. There was one that was like, I constantly feel the need to go fix it when I see someone suffering, right? And maybe I do feel that need a lot, but I set boundaries around myself to not do that in all times, at all places. Like, it's not my duty to save everyone. So I feel like some of those questions are what went into this, just given their description. And I'm wondering if that's why, because I have learned to set some boundaries. Had you talked to me 5 or 10 years ago, that probably would have been 80 to 90, or even higher, because in the arms of the angel with, sad puppies in the background would make me not only go pick up my puppy and hug him, but would also make me donate the last of my paycheck to the cause of the ASPCA. Okay, so... So there's been some growth in that area for me, I think.
That's funny. Okay, what's our last one?
The last one is well-being. Now, this one is one I wasn't as sure about, but it's measured as an individual's overall state of psychological, emotional, and social prosperity. People who score high in this area are likely to have positive attitudes toward life and experience a sense of fulfillment, happiness, and satisfaction in their day-to-day activities. They may enjoy socializing and have strong social skills, and likely find it easier to connect with others and build positive relationships. They're also more likely to have an optimistic view of life, finding joy in everyday experiences, and maintaining a positive outlook even in the face of challenges. On the opposite side of that coin, those with lower well-being scores may find it more difficult to connect with others or find joy in social situations, and may sometimes struggle with confidence or optimism. So, for well-being, my friend, I am going to say that this was a high one for you, and I'm going to put you at, not your highest, but I'm going to put you at 65, give or take 5, 60 to 70.
Okay. I'm going to put you this, and this is solely, or I would think you would land in this, me watching you and interacting with you. I think this would be one of your higher ones. So, and this number just jumped in my mind. I don't know why, but I'm going to say 76. I'm going to be very specific with this one. Okay.
So, my score is 74.
Oh, I was close.
Yes, it is my second highest number.
That's cool.
My brother would say I fart rainbows, and that shows in this number, I think. But he tells me all the time I don't always have to fart rainbows, so that's great.
Okay. Well, I think that wraps it up then for all of us, right?
Oh, wait. Your number, 65. Give or take 5.
So I get a range of 60 to 70 is what I'm hearing. Okay. This one is my second highest, so you are accurate on that. It was a close second, I would say. I ranked 82 out of 100 on well-being.
Oh.
So just a little bit even better than what you were thinking that I was, but I kind of surprised myself on that one a little bit, just because, I try to be a realist. I try to be optimistic. I said that. I feel like I'm an optimistic person. I like to see the bright side of everything. But just based on that description, I don't know how I would have scored that high on that one, and yet my empathy is as low as it is. But okay.
Well, but I also think that you don't let that affect you. Like,
so other people struggle. I'm like, I'm good.
Well, for instance, if someone that I'm working with is really struggling, it might be something that does consume some of my thoughts. You know what I mean? And it might steal some of my joy for a short time. But, I think you maybe you have a very healthy dose of find the joy anyway.
I like the positive approach. I'll take it. No, and it's not a bad thing. I just was a little shocked based off all the other stuff. I guess maybe what we should have done is at the very beginning, we should have just said, I like doing this test, and we kind of tried this as an experiment. Again, I hope it was interesting enough to kind of go through this with everybody listening. I hope you go and take the test yourselves. But I really wanted this kind of be a benchmark or a place to jump off from, because emotional intelligence, there's so much that goes into emotional or EQ. And a lot of people compare it to intellect or intelligence around the IQ. And so it's amazing to me to see the progression and the progress that's been made in this area. And we were talking a little bit before we started. I don't mind sharing with all of our listeners. When I first heard about emotional intelligence, I was like, well, that's great, right? Like, to me, intellect, intelligence, all of that is the cornerstone of all of who I am as a person and my ability to move up my ranks in my career, and all of the wonderful skills and abilities I have is all thanks to my intellect and my IQ. And this emotional, I think I called it like a I kind of referenced it as like a sideshow like act. Like, it didn't really have a lot of merit. And I think learning about it and really kind of unpacking it and getting in there to understand how it can be useful, that's where, and then putting it in practice too. That's where it really kind of opened up and really showed its true value. And I almost put more stock in emotional intelligence at this point than I do in IQ or intelligence. So I just kind of want to put that out there as I think this is a good episode to give us that base understanding, but I would love to circle back around and do an episode where we talk around emotional intelligence versus, EQ versus IQ, because I think that's a great conversation.
Well, I think it's interesting too that you almost talk about it as a utility, like a tool, emotional intelligence as a tool. And for me, when I look at emotional intelligence and growing my own emotional intelligence, it's more a value in relationship, or, how, like, service to others, rather than, you know what I'm saying? So it's interesting.
Oh, I do.
Even the word that you choose to describe it is different. Like, you said that and it just like it pinged me for a second, like how we can use this to further our career, which is not inaccurate, and it's not like diabolical in any way, shape, or form. But at the same time, like when we're talking about the way words hit us, that was kind of one of those negative connotations that I had with that. So,
spoken like a true poet. That's all I'm going to say.
Do we really want to talk about the cold hard rock? Just saying. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm the foundation. I'm the foundation. No, but part of where I want to come back and kind of visit this topic is there's the dark side to emotional intelligence too. I did a little bit of research because, when I was younger and I was first listening and hearing about this, the first thing I went to was, wow, you could really do a lot of damage or manipulating people if you were really strong in emotional intelligence. And I'm not wrong. And there is a study on the dark side of using emotional intelligence, and you see things like narcissists. Narcissists are really good at emotional intelligence of other people, and they read them, and they're really good at those subtle cues, and they're really good at manipulation. And this all kind of feeds back into our food for thought earlier. And of course, we don't have time to kind of get into there now. So that's why I want to revisit it, Jamie, because it was really fascinating. Like, I had always thought, like, you could really. And that's why I view this as a tool, is there's a lot of benefits you can do with it, but you can also use the exact same tool that creates all these wonderful benefits and put into the wrong person's hands and manipulate it. You can do a lot of damage as well. And I just think that would be really fascinating to kind of see the positive and the negative of strong emotional intelligence.
Well, I'm going to just go out on a limb and say I'm excited to hear about some of those things. So I think you need to bring that research back because I want to hear about it. I'm also going to say that given the fact that my scores are between, this isn't measured in this test, but I am a bit of a perfectionist and really live my life in that vein on far more occasions than I should. I'm hoping that this is not rated like school grades, where like 90 to 100 is an A and 80 to 90 is a B and 70 to 80 is a C, because I would be like a D average student right now. And I don't like that. So
no, what you need to do is you need to look at it like, and this is not a formal scale, but when you used to go to the amusement park and you take the mallet and you'd hit the square or the button, and that little thing would try to shoot up and hit the bell.
Uh-huh.
You know what I'm talking about? That's what I think this is like. So each one of these, we took our emotional hammer and we struck it, and 100's the bell, and we only got up to whatever our numbers are. So I don't think it's good or bad. I think it's just showing you the strength you have in each of these areas.
Okay, so I'm not a D student is what you're saying. I appreciate
That's what I'm saying.
Friend. I needed that in my life today. So
you are not a D student.
Thank you. This has been fun to talk about, and I hope you guys enjoyed it too. We have there's a couple of episodes that we've been talking about being experiential with. Like this was just one of them, but kind of fun to go through this together. I would love, if you do take this, I would love for you to comment somewhere and tell us what you are, because here's the deal. We went, Malin specifically went digging to try and find all of the emotional IQ types, and we can't find it anywhere. So I'm curious what the other types are. We only know rock and poet until you guys go take the test and report back, because we need to know what these are. Even if it's an email or a text message to our phone number, we'll give you all that info here in the end. But please let us know what your type is, and I'd love to hear back from you guys about that. So
agree 100%, because how cool would it be, first of all, to find out all the different types that there are, but then also start understanding a little bit better of our listeners, at least a small sampling of our listener base. And maybe in future episodes, we could actually have some of these individuals, if they're interested, could come on, and maybe we could have discussions from different, we know for sure, the different emotional IQs of these individuals that could come on. And I just think that's fascinating. I think when you can do stuff like that, that's where it's fun. And that's when you can start seeing on paper, because I'm a big data driven guy. I like to see on paper all of the metrics and the things that you can do to use those metrics to see outcomes. So this would be really fun for me. So I'm kind of geeking out over that. So yes, please it's like 5 minutes of your time. It's not super important. We weren't, no one's going to share it with anybody, but it'd be really cool to see where all the other outcomes and the different EQ types and superpowers. I think that'd be fun.
Yeah, it would be awesome. Thank you all for tuning in with us today for this exciting episode of Roundtable Mindset. We love having you here every week. You knew it was coming. We hope you'll join us again next time. And don't forget about Talk About It Tuesday on Tuesday, where we'll bring another exciting tidbit of news to you.
Off the wall.
Interesting and off the wall. We'll use that for Taco About It. And then we'll use exciting for Roundtable. Okay. You guys have a great week. We'll see you next time on Roundtable Mindset.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. This podcast was recorded and edited by Jamie and Malin. Music by Famous Cats. If you have a topic you'd like us to discuss, please email us at roundtablemindset@gmail.com. Text or call us at 402-819-8999. Or join the conversation on Facebook at Roundtable Mindset Podcast.
And never miss a new episode by making sure you like, subscribe, and share wherever you listen to podcasts. Thanks for being our guest today. See you next time at the Roundtable. And remember, your opinions and perspectives matter and are appreciated, but might not always be shared by others, and that's okay.